The banknotes issued by countries all over the world generally have the heads of historical figures printed on the front and the representative scenic spots of the country on the back. Famous historical figures such as Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, Hamilton are printed on the front of the dollar. If a person's head can be printed on the banknotes, the person must have made big contribution to a country. There is actually a Chinese man, Hualin Jin Chen, printed on the 25 rupees notes of Mauritius in Africa. Mauritius is an island country in eastern Africa. It is one of the few wealthy and smallest countries in Africa. Its GDP per capita reached $11,000. The total land area of the country is 2,040 square kilometers. Mauritius is 2,000 kilometers off the southeast coast of Africa. The island is surrounded by more than 150 kilometers of white sandy beaches, and the lagoons are protected from the open sea by the world's third largest coral reef. It has a population of 1.3 million. Mauritius is a tourist attraction comparable to Maldives due to its beautiful scenery. In fact, Mauritius not only has Chinese head printed on its banknote, it is also the only country in Africa regards Chinese New Year as one of its public holiday. So, what is the relationship between Chinese and Mauritius, and who is the Chinese man printed on Mauritius rupee? Let's start by understand the history of Mauritius. The first Europeans to have visited Mauritius were the Portuguese at the beginning of the 16th century. The Dutch who settled in the island in 1598 named it Mauritius after Prince Maurice of Nassau. In 1715, the French occupied the island of Mauritius and renamed it Island of France. After the British seized the land from France more than 100 years later, it was changed back to Mauritius. Mauritius was basically a desert island before it was discovered by European colonists. The island was not only uninhabited, but even animals were rare. Before the arrival of European colonists, the main species on the island was the dodo. When the European colonists first arrived on the island, they had no idea how to develop and utilize this island, no one on the island did business with them, and there was a lack of valuable mineral resources. After the Dutch arrived, they conducted a survey on the island, and finally the Dutch found that the climate here is suitable for growing sugar cane. During the colonial era, sugar and rubber were highly sought-after goods all over the world, so Dutch colonists cut down large areas of forest on the island to grow sugar cane. Mauritius allowed the colonists to earn a lot of wealth by selling sugar cane. 2 sugar canes are now printed on the national emblem of Mauritius. When British colonized Mauritius, the continuous increase in sugar cane planting areas have caused insufficient labor resources on the island, so the British began to find manpower all over the world. About half a century after the British colonized Mauritius, they forced Qing government to sign the Beijing Treaty. There is a provision in the Beijing Treaty that allows Britain to recruit Chinese workers to go abroad. At that time, China was at a time of internal and external troubles. Some farmers who lost their arable land in the process of land annexation began to work abroad in order to have better livelihood. In 1887, Chu Wei-chen arrived in Mauritius as an immigrant from Meizhou, a Hakka village in Guangdong, China. He was 14 years old. He worked as a laborer in sugarcane plant. Later, he discovered there is a real business opportunities to provide the necessities of life to a large number of newly arrived laborers. Chu Wei-chen opened a grocery store on the island that provides a variety of daily necessities for people who come to the island. His eldest son died at the age of 25, and he subsequently took his second son, Jean Hualin Chen, as his apprentice. In 1931, at the age of 20, Jean Hualin set up his own convenience shop in Port Louis at 18, Queen Street. The store was called ABC, which stands for Au Bazaar Central because it was situated opposite the Central Market. He brought in the best groceries, foodstuffs and wines to offer to his customers and quickly built up a very good reputation. Soon after, he undertook his own imports and set up a wholesale distribution of his food products around the island. In 1942, Jean Hualin became the youngest president of the Mauritian Chinese Chamber of Commerce, where he started his political career. During World War II, rice and flour supplies could not reach Mauritius, then a British colony. Cargo ships leaving the island's harbor were diverted, intercepted by Japanese warships and submarines, or blown up by Japanese mines. Food was scarce. Everything rice flour, edible oil, soap had to be imported from overseas. The government decided to adopt the rationing system. Every family had a quota for food and necessities, with allowance cards issued by the government. The Chinese Chamber of Commerce, entrusted by the Mauritius government, distributed food in the Chinese community to ensure fairness. Jean Hualien, who was a major entrepreneur in the food business and a member of the country's Supplies Council, played a pivotal role during the process. After the war, the British government decided that Mauritius should get more democracy. Jean Hualien became the first Chinese representative on the Legislative Council in 1948 as a reward for his contribution to the country during the war. In 1968, when Mauritius declared independence, Jean Hualien was appointed Minister of Local Government. Because of good relationships with other ministers and the Prime Minister, Siwasagar Ramgoolam, Jean Hualien persuaded the Parliament to make Chinese Spring Festival a public holiday in Mauritius. Mauritius is the first non-Asian country to do so. In the early 1970s, the slump of sugarcane prices in the international market dealt a heavy blow to the country's economy. As a result, unemployment in the country rose at an alarming rate. After the Mauritian government passed the Export Processing Zone Act in 1970 in an effort to provide incentives for foreign trade, Jean Hualien played a crucial role in building the Export Processing Zone and invited a range of delegations of textile, garment and chemical entrepreneurs from Hong Kong and Macau to invest in Mauritius with the help of Jean Hualien's daughter, Madeline, who was living in Hong Kong with her husband, Joseph Lee. More than 60,000 jobs have been created since the zone was established in 1972, and the country's pillar industries have gradually shifted from sugar manufacturing to textile, tourism and finance services with the development of the zone. In late 1979, then Prime Minister Ramgoolam recommended Jean Hualien to Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom for the honor of knighthood, in appreciation of his dedication and contribution to the country. He was made Knight Bachelor of the British Empire in January 1980. Jean Hualien died in 1991 at the age of 90. His portrait appeared on the 25 rupee banknotes in Mauritius in 1998, when the country's central bank decided to honor all of the first ministers at the time of its independence. 3 years later, a commemorative stamp marking the 100th anniversary of his birth was issued in the country.